For that, a 19-year-old man has been arrested on suspicion of attempted murder after a stabbing on a train in South London. Meanwhile, 2 people are in a critical but stable condition after a further incident at Kennington Station last night. Well, our Home Security Editor, Mark White, is outside Kennington Station, while Ray Addison is outside Shortlands Station with the latest on this. Shall we start with you, Ray Addison? What's the latest on the Shortlands incident?
Well, the latest information, Martin, good afternoon, is that we know British Transport Police have also recovered a knife along with that arrest of the 19-year-old male suspect. Police being called just before 4 o'clock yesterday afternoon to reports of 2 men fighting on the train Victoria bound between this station, Shortlands, and Beckenham Junction. Now, that was about a 2 to 3 minute journey, but it must have been terrifying for the passengers on board. That social media footage being released online showing a man dressed completely in black and another man slumped on the floor. Now, when it got to Beckenham train station, it was obviously the train stopped. Police, emergency services responded, and a man, we're told now in his 20s, was treated at the scene and then removed via air ambulance to a major trauma centre. His condition is critical but stable, we're told, and police are liaising with his family, providing specialist support.
OK, thank you for that, Ray. And now let's cross to Mark White outside Kennington Station. Mark, what's the latest on the situation there?
Well, still an active manhunt for the attacker at the centre of this incident that unfolded at 10:30 last night on the northbound platform at Kennington Tube Station. A man was attacked by another man, stabbed, and then another commuter who was on that platform moved in, intervened very bravely to try to stop this man and help him, and then was attacked himself. Both men were taken to a major trauma centre in the area. They are described today as being in a critical condition, but also stable at this hour. Now, we haven't as yet from British Transport Police had any kind of description of the attacker, any photographs released. Now, that might indicate that British Transport Police are pursuing a positive line of inquiry and they don't yet need the help of the wider public to try to trace their suspect. Only the hours ahead will tell us if that is a correct assumption, but clearly a real concern surrounding this incident as British Transport Police say that they don't believe that either victim knew their attacker.
OK, thank you, Mark White outside Kennington Station and Ray Addison from outside Shortlands Station for those updates. I'm joined in the studio now by the former Metropolitan Police Officer Chris Hobbs. Cribs, welcome to the studio. This isn't that uncommon, is it, unfortunately? It's been called a night of carnage in the press, but you know, as well as I know, that stabbings are on the increase, particularly in London, particularly in Birmingham, in the major cities. Whatever we're doing to tackle knife crime, it ain't working. What needs to be done?
It is a challenge, without a doubt, and these are the crimes that are reported. There's an awful lot of stuff goes on that is unreported. Do you know in London the gangs even have got scoreboards when 2 gangs face off? So many points for a murder, so many points for a stabbing, so many points for a shooting, so many points for making someone run away. But in addition to the gangs, the knife seems to be a go-to weapon, almost a fashion accessory now for many people to carry around with them. What needs to be done? Well, for a start, in London, the Met are stretched to the limit.
Yeah.
When is it? How many times do you hear the Met needs to do more about this, the Met needs to do more? There's a whole list of things the Met need to do more about. Knife crimes obviously should be a priority because it's our young people who are getting stabbed in the main. There needs to be stop and search. Stop and search, so I'm told, and the figures prove it, is falling through the floor.
Yes.
Halved, I think, compared to this time last year. That's partly because stop and search is controversial. It can be career-ending. If you get a controversial stop and search in a public place, draws a crowd, you have to use force to conduct your search, mobile phones are out, and then, of course, if there's a complaint, you get an investigation that could possibly go on for years. It could be career-ending.
But Chris, it works. Stop and search works, where it's been put in place in violence reduction units across cities such as Liverpool, Glasgow, London. It works. Why can't the police be given more powers and say, to hell with people who criticise us? It works, it's effective, we need it. We need to save lives.
Well, I think that is the issue. I think the critics seem to forget that every time you take a knife or a gun or weapon off the street, and the Met take about somewhere almost 400, between 300 and 400 deadly weapons off the streets every month. That's potentially a life saved. And unfortunately, when you do get something, a fatal stabbing, many of which are almost under the radar. It's only if there's a particular twist do they get publicity. But you don't get the same activists coming out and saying, maybe we should have stop and search. They reserve their wrath not for the fatal stabbing or the victim or the victim's family. They reserve the wrath for the police whenever it is a stop and search becomes controversial.
How do we break that cycle? The bodies are continuing to pile up and the facts don't lie. Young black men are disproportionately more likely to die, and young black men are disproportionately more likely to be the ones doing the stabbing. ONS data, it's factual. Why are we having this barrier about stop and search being racist, about policing being racist? If we just look at things as they stand factually, and being colourblind, why can't the police just be given the tools they need to clamp down?
I think there's an admission amongst police officers that a lot of the stabbings are linked to poorer socio-economic conditions in certain parts of London. That's where you get most of the stabbings. I think if you're a young black lad and you're constantly being told by activists that the police are brutal, racist, perverted oppressors, then even if you're quite a reasonable lad and you're stopped by police, you're probably going to bristle a bit.
But the police also themselves tell us all the time that they're institutionally racist. Does that help?
No, it does. I don't. But we could talk for an hour why I don't believe police are. Institutional racism has got a variety of meanings, but what it boils down to, most people interpret that as police are racist. It's police who race to the scene of these stabbings and often save lives by rendering, because now the police are very much better at first aid. They save lives. They save black lives. No one seems to be interested in that. What I think perhaps the public needs is a bit more shock and awe. There's a lot of controversy about the clip we saw from the station. Should that be shown? I would show clips personally that are more graphic. Bring it home to the school children and so on. This is the consequences of knife crime. When someone gets disembowelled by a knife and his innards are over the pavement, that's the horror of knife crime. And then the families who have to endure the loss of a loved one. And they're not all gang members. Sometimes you get innocent lads caught up in this knife crime. So it needs a fresh approach. Community policing, that sort of died in many parts of London. Get on those estates, get to know the gang members or the potential gang members. It works. Tough love needed, stop and search needed. All these things at the moment, we're struggling because the Met are drowning under cases, under bureaucracy. And at the moment, there's no sign things are going to improve dramatically over time, but they have to.
Chris Hobbs, former Met police officer, fantastic start to the show, oozing common sense.